I'm Jim Haber, and I'm the coordinator of Nevada Desert Experience here in Las Vegas. So, I don't know if everyone knows, we were given 3 questions to look. So you know what the questions are that we may or may not address. What are the 3 most important issues you or your tribe or organization are working on pertaining to nuclear weapons or cleanup issues? Question 2 is, how do you see the issues you work on connecting with nuclear issues around the nuclear weapons complex? And question 3 was, how could group or national work help ensure success on your issues? And so, I thought those were pretty good questions, actually. But of course, no set of questions exactly dovetails with what your work is. Since I came to the NDE 3 years ago, we've increasingly broadened our scope from opposing nuclear weapons testing at the test site, which was really, we were very focused for a long time, but as other facilities have grown in prominence, Los Alamos, Kansas City, and of course Y-12, we've also been putting more energy into raising awareness about those issues. Issues at the Nevada test site or the Nevada National Security site have been a little bit lower on the immediacy level, on some level, even in my perspective coming here to work on it, you know. So it's been interesting for me, and yet Creech Air Force Base, which is even closer to Las Vegas than the Nevada test site, is very active, very prominent, very secretive, very menacing because of the drones there. You might hear reports about how they were, you know, these crews in trailers, little trailers. Now they're not, you know. They've got big buildings, new buildings. It's just growing by leaps and bounds, sadly to say. So we've had to focus on that too, and so our tagline, which used to be interfaith resistance nuclear weapons testing, is now interfaith resistance to nuclear weapons and war, just by necessity, I think. So we have swag now that has both issues. We made this for the Catholic Worker Gathering, so we have some over here. If you make a donation, take one, please. It's kind of hot in here. I'm glad to have one. And they are connected. So what are the 3 most important issues you or your tribe work on? I feel like one is stockpile stewardship and life extension programs, because they use those to justify some of the testing that still does happen out at the test site. Even if Jason and some other government institutions that are more or less pro-military say they don't need to test materials by these big explosive facility tests, or now they've got this, they brought a facility that was at Los Alamos for many years, the Planet apparatus, I believe it's called.
Critical experiments.
The critical experiments that actually sustain a criticality. They did one of these tests here in June. They hadn't done one in 4 years. They hadn't done subcritical tests for like 4 years, and now they've done 4 in the last year. But they hadn't done any for 4 years. And it's interesting, the Japanese are always calling us, asking about subcritical tests. And I'm always like, well, we've got bigger fish to fry on some level than subcritical tests, even though this is my local issue, because they happen here. But you know, in terms of the stockpile stewardship thing is a conduit for a reason to be active around the test site and the life extension programs, because they say they need to do these tests, even though their own analysis says maybe they don't. Back to drone warfare, there is a nuclear connection. For a while I was saying, well, drones are the acute militarism of the U.S., and nuclearism is sort of the chronic militarism that underpins it all, the foundation for it. But increasingly they're getting more connected as work on a nuclear-capable drone continues and becomes more concrete. And I mean, that's a big way. And the whole drone thing is sort of like thinking analogously back to when nuclear weapons were new. It's like the genie coming out of the hat. And just today, there was an article on the internet, coming soon, the drone arms race. And this was a New York Times article from today. And you know, if you look at the number of countries that are developing drones, you look at ground robotics, you look at increases in artificial intelligence, there is a push for more autonomous systems with less human control. Even with Terminator and everything. It's scary that the military-industrial complex, even though some of people in the military-industrial complex, I think, are rightfully scared of it also, but it's moving forward. So there's this analogous, we're on the edge of a cliff sort of thing that we were maybe 60 or 70 years ago. That was 10 minutes or no?
You got 10 minutes.
I've got 10 minutes, great. And so increasingly I'm seeing that be more intricately linked to the nuclear weapons problem than it was before, because they want to make nuclear armed drones, they want to make them autonomous, and then the whole stockpile stewardship stuff. I guess I would add a fourth, or maybe I could bring it in under here under the next question, that they bring waste to the site. We all talk about Yucca Mountain. Yucca Mountain, you know, is it stopping Yucca Mountain means we're not going to see nuclear waste come to Nevada or Shoshone land or the test site. But you demonstrate out there, you still see low-level radioactive waste trucks coming in. And so the waste issue continues to be a problem here that we try to deal with. I think secrecy makes things hard. I'm sure other people come up against this. We don't have a great research arm. I'm impressed by the work of some of you that seem to really get things out there that I'm able to use when we put our newsletter out, which there are copies of over there. They're new ones, so sometimes I'll take stuff from New Mexico or Tri-Valley Cares or Western States Legal Foundation or something, because we just don't have the means to do that. I'm a 25-hour-a-week employee. Some board members help, but there's a lot to do, and it's hard. How do we see issues connect? So I mentioned drones, the drone connection here. Of course, that connects to satellites, the weaponization of space. I was really glad to go to Boston for the Global Network Against Weapons and Nuclear Powers in Space. I'm even more happy to finally feel like I have a handle on that name and not confusing the nuclear weapons and power and all that. That's a mouthful. Okay. But so I just have to say, testing includes delivery systems, anti-ballistic missile systems, foreign bases, the work at Vandenberg, so connecting up with Nuclear Age Peace Foundation and other activists there, because testing missiles is an offensive gesture that pushes the arms race. And so we can't just look at warhead and power, nuclear power and nuclear warheads. We need to look at the larger other issues. So we do also talk about delivery system developments and educate people around those. The forward basing of anti-ballistic missile systems, like on Jeju Island. I'm curious if anyone here is, raise your hand if you've never heard of Jeju Island. A few people. Okay, so it's South Korea, right, very close to China. We've been pressuring, in spite of a huge Gandhian campaign against against the base, this Navy base there. I'll give you some materials about it tomorrow. But it's an important fight that is going on, has been going on for some time on the Island of Peace there.
They've also sold them the Aegis destroyers and that.
Right, it's to have Aegis destroyers there. So we're increasingly needing to connect the dots. And yet that makes it hard to stay focused, and some supporters don't like us doing that too much. But I think delivery systems and warheads and power seem to need to be connected up more than they even are. And certainly, I know Mary Lou and I went to Japan this August, and the presence of all the people impacted by the Fukushima disaster was profound. And seeing people say, I should have been active before now. I should have cared, I should have known, my government lies to me, you know, they're keeping things from me if they're not lying. And so I think that was a big wake-up call for them, and hopefully here too. And it's just important to realize no one angle or site has the whole story. But we also have to work on our messaging to keep it simple, right? Because not everyone needs to know that plutonium is at Y12 and uranium is at Los Alamos. I got that backwards, right? See? It's all right. I know people who say nuclear, and they're very educated people too. All right. So there's some details it's good to avoid because we might get them wrong. But it's important to connect them as best we can. And then, how could group or national work, oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to take a moment also, John Hatter and some of the others of us at home and others are working because there is an environmental impact statement review happening here now, and I think that's an interesting question. The last question here is how could group or national work help ensure success in our issues? I think it used to be more people would look at these environmental impact statements as an opportunity to raise awareness and be a pressure point. And I know certainly around CMRR, that was not, or I mean the problems.
$5.
No,
That was an acronym.
I saw it written up
Acronyms,
here, though, so I
yeah.
figured it was written up there, that was okay.
We'll buy that.
Okay. The Chemistry and Metallurgy Research Replacement Facility.
Good for you. You can get your
So-
mouth around a lot of words.
Anyways, John did a great job with this 4-page summation of what our problems are with the test site, EIS. This is a 1-page letter that you could sign and send with their form on the back, and I would recommend writing a little something on the back, even just a little something, because they were saying stuff to us like, oh, we get the same sheet, we count it once. If we get 100 of these, that's what the document manager was telling us at these public hearings. I actually don't believe her, but anyways, I just encourage you to write a little something on the back. I can bring more of these on our trip on Wednesday if we want. I've got enough of these that we don't want to pass around. They'll be here tomorrow. Okay. So I think I touched on all 3 questions, so I got 1 minute left or not?
You got 2 minutes left.
2 minutes left, so let me breathe for a second. I'm happy to connect with A&A more. It was great that we were able to send Donzie, Bob, and Jeremiah Jones to lobby. It was more important that they got here than me. They were really grateful to meet many of you, and they wish they could have been here today, but it's a little bit far for them to have come. And I'm happy to be here making more connections and seeing old friends.
Excellent.